So for this one, I teach it very similar to the way that I would teach a dumbbell snatch, which is to teach an explosive deadlift, even have people jump on their explosive deadlift, but looking for a triple extension, explosive deadlift. After that, doing a high pull with an elbow drive, and then focusing on a really aggressive punch once it becomes weightless. And what I really want people to understand the first time that I teach them this is that you want the kettlebell to become weightless. So we'll actually play with them putting some float on the kettlebell and also keeping their hands nice and loose, because one of the reasons why people whack themselves in the wrist is they have that death grip on the kettlebell, which stops it from moving around fluidly. So instead you just have that hinge at the top where they whack themselves. So I'll show you that as well. So first off, just set up on your deadlift. So standing over the kettlebell like so, using the handle of the kettlebell, line it up with the arches of your feet or where your shoelaces are. That's a good start. Come down here and find tension. So you don't want to be loose here. You know, remember, we don't want that jerking motion. We want a nice smooth motion whenever we're doing any sort of ballistic explosive weightlifting. So I'm going to find my tension here, okay, and then I want to explode up into triple extension. From this side, it's going to be like that. Find my tension, explode up into triple extension. You don't actually need to jump, but like I said, we tend to exaggerate and teach really crude simplifications and movements. Some people, if you tell them to jump, it's just going to give them better muscle recruitment. You can always pull back on the jump later, but I'll usually teach the jump with new people just because it gives them an idea of how much power production we want. So once again, pull yourself tight, explode up, and if your feet come off the ground in the jump, that's fine, okay? So we've got that power. Now we want them to just really focus on that kettlebell float. So I might even just have them do a few where I have them try to let go at the top, just so they can see how much power is on the kettlebell, and they can see the kettlebell is still coming up with them. We want them to think about that summation of forces, that multi-stage rocket. We're trying to constantly put more momentum on the kettlebell, so when it gets up here, it's almost weightless, okay? Once you feel good about that, go ahead and add a high pull. And in this case, I will generally teach an elbow drive, sort of elbow going straight up on this. Again, it's not how I do it with a swing style snatch, but for our purposes here, we just want it to go straight up and down. We want a nice straight vertical pull on this one. So from here, explode up and drive up there, just like that. And this right here is a perfectly good movement for new members. Again, once you feel like they've got their sequencing, have them focus on the float. It's really important here they can put enough power so they can let go and the kettlebell kind of floats around their head. So you can see that I can let go and the kettlebell floats a little bit. That's really important. You have that float because you want to have that float when you punch through. So first we teach explosive deadlift with triple extension, maybe put a jump. Then we add a high pull with a big elbow drive, focusing on the float at the top. Last movement, when the kettlebell is weightless, we're going to do a punch through. And if you get your timing right, your hand can move through the kettlebell rather than the kettlebell coming over and slapping onto your hand. So it's going to look like this. Switch. Okay,